Welcome to part 4 of this series on molt in shorebirds and other waterbirds. In parts 1 and 2, we looked at the adult or definitive molt cycle, which includes pre-basic and pre-alternate molts. And in part 3, we outlined the more or less predictable sequence in which one set of feathers or one plumage is exchanged for another. In this video, we will begin to look at where and when molt takes place and how an understanding of this can be a helpful clue in shorebird identification. And again, I'm thinking primarily of shorebirds in Malaysia as my main context. So, molt timing. Because the shedding of feathers reduces flight efficiency and the growing of feathers uses energy, molt normally does not overlap with the other two major annual events in a bird's life, breeding and, in the case of non-resident species, migration. For a migratory bird, molt timing is constrained by the timing of these two other major events. So pre-basic molt most frequently occurs after breeding, either before or upon completion of the post-breeding migratory journey. Some species stop their migratory journey midway in order to complete pre-basic molt before continuing. For example, many shorebirds spend 2 to 3 months on the southern Jiangsu coast in China from July through to September to complete their pre-basic molt before continuing their migration southward. And this includes the majority of the world population of extreme global rarities like Nordmann's greenshank and spoon-billed sandpiper. An understanding of the timing of pre-basic molt can be useful for species identification. For example, greater sandplovers almost always complete their pre-basic molt before arriving in Malaysia, so any sandplover showing breeding aspect in September or October is almost certainly not a greater sandplover. Another example, Kentish plover molts on or near the breeding grounds immediately after breeding and before reaching Malaysia. Javan plover also molts after breeding, but because it's a resident, the breeding season is much longer than for Kentish, so wing molt can be seen in most months of the year. So any Kentish type plover in active wing molt in Malaysia should be studied carefully. Pre-alternate molt most frequently occurs before or after completion of the pre-breeding migratory journey northwards and before the start of breeding. Some species start pre-alternate molt on the non-breeding grounds and then complete it upon arrival at the breeding grounds. Again, understanding the timing of pre-alternate molt in different but similar species can be helpful for identification. In Malaysia, greater sandplovers acquire breeding aspect in late February and March, about a month earlier than most Tibetan sandplovers. Sometimes there isn't enough time to complete a molt before one of the other events, breeding or migration, has to occur. In such cases, molt can be suspended to be continued later or arrested, in which case it is stopped and never continued. Suspended molt is when a bird temporarily stops the molt process for a period and then carries on from where it stopped. So for example, if it stopped at P5, then when it begins again, it will start with P6. In arrested molt, when the bird abandons the molt process for that molt altogether, the succeeding molt will begin as normal. So, for example, if the molt stops at P6, the next molt, it will begin not at P7 but at P1. And so that's the case in arrested molt. So in this video, we've seen how different species habitually molt at different stages of their annual life cycle. Generally speaking, in the case of shorebirds, the two main molts occur in the intervals between breeding and migration. Pre-basic occurs after breeding and pre-alternate before breeding. Different species typically have their own schedule, and this can sometimes be a helpful pointer in species identification. In the next video, we will look at molt in the first year of a shorebird's life, the first molt cycle, and this differs in several ways from the adult molt cycle. Thanks for watching. See you next time.